What would you do if the world told you no? Every single day for 5 straight years. No invitations, no opportunities, no encouragement. Just doors slamming in your face. Most people quit. Most people let that no define them. But this story is about the rare few who find the strength to say, "Not today." Jay was just an ordinary kid from a small town. He wasn't the star athlete or the smartest kid in class. He was quiet, reserved, a background character in his story, but he dreamed bigger than his circumstances. School was never easy. He struggled to keep up with coursework that came naturally to others. His teachers often said he wasn't reaching his potential, but potential felt like a word too big for him. When the time came for college, Jay applied everywhere. 17 applications, 17 hopes, 16 rejections, one acceptance from a community college, and none of the programs he actually wanted. Friends celebrated their acceptance to prestigious universities. Jay felt left behind, like he was watching life from the sidelines. The words of his high school counselor haunted him. Maybe college isn't the right fit for everyone. Those words weren't just advice. They were a judgment, a label, a door closing. Jay refused to believe it. He told himself, "I will prove them wrong." So he changed majors twice. He worked part-time jobs just to pay bills. He applied for internships, eager to learn and grow. Rejection followed him like a shadow. No scholarship, no fellowship. Every email that arrived felt like a punch to the gut. "Thank you for your application, but we have decided to proceed with other candidates." Those words repeated in his mind, day after day. Sometimes he read them over and over, hoping one day the answer would be different. But it never was. And then came the job interviews, the ones where Jay thought he had it all figured out. He prepared answers meticulously. He practiced shaking hands, eye contact, confident smiles. But after 3 rounds, the final message hit harder than anything before. "We've decided to move forward with another candidate who is a better fit for our culture." Culture. That word stung. It felt like being told he didn't belong, like an invisible barrier he couldn't break through. Jay sank deeper. Days blurred into nights. He stopped applying, stopped answering calls, stopped believing in himself. His mind became a prison of doubt and fear. What if they're right? What if I'm not good enough? The silence inside his own head was deafening. The fear of never finding a place to belong consumed him. Some nights, Jay lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if he would ever be more than a no. The crushing weight of rejection threatened to break him completely. Let's pause here for a moment, because if you've ever felt like Jay, lost in rejection, drowning in doubt, this part of the story is where the magic begins. The moment where everything could have ended, but didn't. Jay didn't wake up one morning with a sudden burst of motivation. There was no lightning bolt or grand revelation. Instead, it was a quiet, restless night. 2:13 a.m. He couldn't sleep. His mind replayed every no, every door slammed in his face. He felt broken, invisible, defeated. But then, on impulse, he opened his laptop and began to write. Not a resume, not a job application. A story. His story, raw and unfiltered. The words poured out in a flood. Pain, fear, shame, hope. Everything he'd buried under years of silence. Jay posted the story anonymously on a small online forum. He didn't expect anything. 2 likes, 4 likes. A comment appeared. "This made me cry. I feel this. Please keep writing." That tiny spark was enough. Jay didn't become unstoppable overnight. He wrote every day, before work, after work, during lunch breaks. Sometimes he had nothing left in the tank. His fingers ached. His heart was heavy. Sometimes he thought about quitting. The old voice, "You're not good enough," whispered louder than ever. The fear of failure clawed at him. But he wrote anyway. The writing became therapy, a way to face the fear, instead of running from it. His blog crashed on launch day. His first ebook sold just 5 copies. Social media followers trickled in slowly. Critics were harsh. Some called him naive. Some said he'd never make it. Yet he didn't stop. Each no he'd faced before became fuel. He realized rejection wasn't a wall. It was a weightlifting session for his spirit. Every pushback made him stronger. Jay also learned something crucial. He wasn't alone. The comments grew. People reached out, sharing their own struggles, their own no's, their own fears. That connection lit a fire inside him. Months passed. Jay's writing style sharpened. His stories became more than personal confessions. They became powerful lessons. Then came a message. A global brand had found his blog through a viral tweet. The email read, "We'd love to feature your story in our upcoming leadership series." Jay laughed at first. Thought it was a prank. He hesitated. What if this was another disappointment? But deep down, he said yes. Jay wrote that first article with trembling hands. It wasn't perfect, but it was authentic. He shared the heartbreak, the struggle, and the hope. The CEO of the company shared it across every platform. Suddenly, Jay's story touched thousands, then millions. The inbox exploded. Podcast hosts invited him to speak. Book agents wanted to represent him. His life was changing fast. But let's get one thing straight. This was never about luck. It was years of quiet hustle.
Painful rejection and relentless faith.
Jay didn't win because doors opened easily. He won because he refused to let the rejections define him. When Jay's article went viral, his life changed almost overnight. But that doesn't mean the path ahead was easy. The flood of attention was overwhelming. Emails poured in. Messages from strangers who saw themselves in his story. Opportunities appeared. Speaking gigs, book deals, collaborations. But with opportunity came pressure. Jay felt the weight of expectation like never before. He asked himself, can I really live up to this? Am I worthy of this spotlight? Old doubts crept back, whispering cruel lies. The fear of failure returned, not as a distant memory, but a present threat. Yet Jay pressed on. He committed to showing up every day, not just for himself, but for the countless people who had been silenced by rejection. Success didn't mean perfection. Jay stumbled. There were days inspiration ran dry. When negative comments cut deep, when exhaustion made him question everything. A major publisher once delayed his book release by months, citing market concerns. It felt like another door slammed shut. But instead of giving up, Jay took it as a sign to double down. He began hosting workshops, mentoring young creators, and speaking at events, turning his setbacks into new opportunities. Each time life pushed him down, Jay remembered the early years, the loneliness, the silence, the no's. He refused to let those memories become chains. Instead, they became his fuel. Today, Jay is not just a successful author and speaker. He's a beacon of hope for millions. He often reflects on his journey and says, if I had given up after the first rejection, I wouldn't be here. The pain taught me resilience. The silence taught me to listen. The fear taught me courage. Jay knows that success isn't about never falling. It's about getting up every single time. He has turned his story of rejection into a mission to help others find their own strength, even when the world says no. But here's a secret. Jay's story isn't unique. Thousands face rejection daily. Thousands are quietly battling their fears, and thousands have the power to become unstoppable. Just like him today, Jay's life looks very different from those early years of rejection and doubt. He's a best-selling author, a sought-after speaker, and a mentor to thousands who are walking the path he once traveled. But what makes Jay truly unstoppable isn't the fame or the success, it's the legacy he's building. He dedicates time to volunteer with organizations that support students and young adults who've been told they don't belong. He shares his story not to boast, but to remind others, you are not alone. His message is so simple, yet so powerful. Rejection is not the end. It's the beginning of your transformation. Jay calls it the rejection advantage, because every no you hear is a lesson in disguise, a chance to sharpen your grit, to build mental toughness, to learn, adapt, and grow. Jay's advice: don't fear rejection, embrace it. Each time you get knocked down, you get stronger. Every door that closes is preparing you for the one that will open. If you're watching this right now and feeling crushed by rejection or failure, if you're stuck in that dark place where giving up feels like the only option, hear this. Your story is still unfolding. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. Start small. Take one step today, even if it's just writing your thoughts down, reaching out for help, or learning a new skill. Success doesn't come from giant leaps. It comes from showing up day when it's hardest, from embracing failure as part of your journey, not the end of it. So ask yourself, what will your story be? Will you let rejection keep you down? Or will you rise unstoppable, unbreakable, and ready to claim your future? The choice is yours. If Jay's story moved you, if it lit a fire inside you, then subscribe and join a community that's all about rising together. Because here, the next unstoppable story might just be yours.